Okay, so my talk is going to be whether education's too restrictive, and that's whether in terms of like where the way in which people learn and the way in which people are tested in the way they learn. So one quote that I found was that one problem with the way the educational system is set up is that it only recognises a certain type of intelligence, and this type of intelligence is incredibly restrictive, very, very restrictive. There's many types of intelligence, and people at their best would get lost outside of that structure. So my idea behind my talk is that, you know, you have to come into schools and you have to learn in one way through primary and secondary school, and if you don't fit in with that, then you kind of get lost outside of that. So I think the reason this is because of the way the national curriculum is set up. It was first introduced in 1988, and this was through the Education Reform Act, and it said that there's got to be the set structure within teaching, so you've got to teach in the way the curriculum's set out. You've got to teach the exact things that they say, and that's what then you'll be tested on at the end. So teachers had to follow that curriculum, like, exactly. Next one. So in England, its main reasons is to kind of standardise content across the country. It's so that everyone's at the same level, everyone's got an equal opportunity to learn, and it should provide that equal opportunity. But it was based on older principles, so it was set up on old principles saying that, you know, it should be taught in this way. You should sit down, you should learn in that way. But although it does allow for the general assessment in on a basic level, then not every child is at an equal level. So is that fair? Should people be tested on one level, really? Next one. Okay, so in Wales separated from England in the devolution happened in 2008. So Wales took control of their own education system, and they tried to, and they looked at it and they separated because of categorical failings that they'd noticed, and they placed particular emphasis on literacy and numeracy because of the failures in this area. So the new curriculum that they've set up allows for extra scope to be in interpretation. So they have a curriculum that says this is kind of the area that needs to teach. You go out there, you look at new ways to teach it, and you have a go at yourself. It allows kids to have a different way to learn. So instead of saying they've got to do this poster for this certain thing, they're allowed to have they're allowed to interpret it in the way that they want, and they can change it and they can do what they want, and they can make it suit kids' classes and kind of get it at the level they wanted. So yeah, next one. So it also placed a lot of emphasis on ALN, which is additional learning needs. So it recognised kids with talent, but also gave more support to kids who are struggling. So as well as helping kids with SEN, so special educational needs, it also helped MAT children, so more able and talented. So it gave support to both of them. So lessons were adapted to help with the ALN to ensure that no child is left behind. Wales placed particular emphasis on this, and a lot of schools are now doing different interventions. So the next one. So there was one school that I looked at in Conway, and they had a government-funded unit for ALN, and it meant that this unit was set up, and kids who were struggling, if the government had agreed to it, they were able to go into this unit, and they spent every morning in the unit, and they worked on things like reading. It also helped with social skills, and it helped increase their confidence in things that they weren't necessarily sure about. So with doing like the reading, a lot of the kids who were picked, it was because they didn't believe that their parents would sit down in the evening with them and go through the work with them. So it was often a way to kind of keep them up at the same level as everyone else. But it also, as well as allowing those kids to be kept kind of at the same level as everyone else, it also allowed for the people who were in the class, because they were often in the destructive ones, so it allowed for the people that were still in the class to be able to learn at the level without having the disruptions. But then the kids with ALN also were able to keep up. Yeah. So which works really? That's what I was looking at. So Wales piloted their new curriculum last year, and they saw that it gave more creative insight. It allowed kids to kind of go and explore, to do what they want. It gave teachers more freedom to want to teach the way in which they wanted to teach instead of sticking to the curriculum. And the exam results showed that kind of Wales did better in numeracy and literacy, which is the main focus that they had. And also ALM became more significant. So the kids with these problems, or the kids who were more talented, they were also had their needs met, which was good. Yeah. So the reason why it doesn't work is because I suppose there are different ways of thinking. So the way that the England systems run, it was kind of based more on convergent thinking and learning, which is kind of that there's the one route to an answer, and I think that's what kind of exams were based around, getting to that bit, whereas divergent thinking allowed for more creative thinking and free flowing. It allowed for more sort of critical analysis, whereas the convergent thinking is more encouraged, but I don't necessarily think that's the way it should be, because I think divergent learning thinking allows for you to have to look at it from different ways instead of just looking at it in the one way, and kind of you're allowed to explore in your own way, really. Next. So yeah, exams is a way to measure it, to measure what you've learned, and I've lost and it was the most effective way to see where a child was up to, and I suppose a lot of the time it tested the convergent thing, especially when you look at things like MCQs, because there's no room for interpretation. You have to just go with what you've been taught, and it's based on kind of more kind of collective intelligence, like in terms of people. So yeah. So yeah, is this the best way? And I kind of decided no. I thought it was too restrictive, and that we should be looking for inventive ways of teaching, and also I suppose examinating, so that all kids are allowed to kind of explore in different ways and become engaged in the material. It showed that 1 in 5 are divergent thinking, and if we're not helping them, are we kind of hindering their learning, because the education system's just setting up blocks for them, and that children should be allowed to explore the world through the interactive material supplied by teachers rather than being taught intellectual conformity. And that's my... Yeah. Go for it.
The Welsh Government opened up what they could do in Wales. How widely taken up has some of these new initiatives been? Or is it sporadic?
It was kind of, they set up, because they came kind of separate from our education, because my friends are doing primary ed, they were saying that they've set up all these new initiatives in school. Their curriculum is kind of, it gives them a general area. It doesn't say you've got to teach in this specific way, and it kind of just says you can do this. And like the initiative before, they kind of set up things to help the kids in different ways.
But you would have massive resistance from those who had been teaching for years, who felt that the way they've been teaching was fine, so why would they want to change? So how much has really changed? Is there any measure of that?
No, not really, because I think it's only, I mean, it was piloted last year, and it's only really coming into play now. So it's one of the things that they're learning now. But like my housemates are doing primary ed, and they said it's something that they're trying to teach now in people that are going into teaching, as well as trying to re-educate the others as well.
Okay.
You said Welsh students did better last year, better compared to what?
I think it was overall in kind of GCSEs in literacy and numeracy, which is the key areas that focuses on.
What did they gauge affected by, did it gauge it from what they were doing with the current system, or did it
I think
say it was the pilot? Sort of,
I think last year, I think it's because they piloted the new thing, kind of allowing more freedom with the teachers and kind of seeing where that took the students. And I think from the results that they got from that, it showed that that was better against the England system, I think.
With the exams that they're being tested on, are the exams the same as you'd have in England, or because of the different style of teaching they've changed the exam on the board?
I think the exams are still the same, although it might be something that's worth looking at. If they're changing that, then it might be worth looking at the way in which they examine people.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that a problem? Because when you have standardized exams, it's all convergent thinking. You have to come up with the right answer.
That was what I was thinking when I was writing it. Because if there's no point in trying to teach the
diversity.
but then still being examined on the convergent stuff. So I don't know. But I think because it's come separate, I think that's something they're trying to work on now, because it only became separate in 2008. So it's something they've worked on it, and then last year it was piloted, and then this year it's been
So maybe I
kind of
better
put into
fall in
place.
line with what they do here in Wales and have an exam in here.
do you think this new way of teaching made it more difficult to sit standardized exam? Because in England they taught, this is what we're going to teach you, this is what we're going to test you on, or in Wales they taught them differently and test them the same.
Good question. I think it probably would cause some problems, but I suppose if you're learning it, if you're having a better understanding of it because of the way you've learnt it, then you should be able to apply it to that rather than, I don't know.
There's a difference in sort of how you're learning, how you're testing the same as everybody has a standard test, and you're learning in a different way. Is it fair to really test? Should the test change as well?
Probably, yeah.